One of my subscribers commented that the Davinci did lousy in the recent Make Magazine 3D print runoff. There was like 26 different machines and it finished 24th out of 26. Well, I'm here to show you my Davinci rates much higher than that. Let me show you why. I don't care what 3D printer you use. You have to reach a point where you learn its quirks. You learn how to get around certain things. If you spend $3,000 for a printer or you spend $500 for a printer, there's going to be things that you have to learn to get good prints out of it. And once you do, you'll continue using that same method. So for the Make Magazine to compare these different machines, you really got to take different things into account, because some of the corrections they made on one machine were in software, which has really nothing to do with the hardware. And in other machines, they were able to tweak certain things that made it print better or worse, depending on the situation. And it's hard to put all that in a magazine, so it's hard to really say exactly what went on. But I read through the article, and they did something really cool. Is they did a bunch of test prints, and then they had measurements that you could do yourself. So I downloaded that, read through it all, and then made my own prints of the files that they supplied, which I think is just awesome that they did that. And I tested it on my Davinci. And what I found is the little bit of tuning that I've done to this thing to get the glass bed to be still, and then fixing that broken bearing that I did in a previous episode, really is the key to making these things print well. Ultimately, when I ran my prints and did their measurements technique, I'll show you here that I actually scored a score of 31 versus the 22 that they show in the magazine. And that ranked me 9th. This machine, if this machine was in the competition and I was running it, it would have ranked 9th, not 24th. And if I was allowed to use supports, like I did on a couple of these, because I would only print these with supports if I was really making something, that would bump me up to 6th with a score of 33. So let me show you just a few things of why it's different. And it starts off with this little guy here. You print different stacks and their circles, and how round those circles are is what gets measured. You take a caliper, and on the second ring you measure both an X and a Y direction, and they give a little mark on the bottom that shows you which direction, where to measure it. And when I did that, their ratings rated at a 1 because the X and the Y were so far off. When I measured mine, it was a 5. It was the best you could be because there was very little dimensional difference between the X and the Y. That is completely driven by the glass bed. Another one that really surprised me was this print here. Now, I've run prints where it gets down to a real fine point, and that's what happened on this one. You get down to a fine point, it's kind of a blob. So I thought this would be an absolute fail, and it wasn't. In fact, by the ratings, I think they had this rated as a 2. I had a 4 because they were judging by how many strings went across, how complete it was, and this was almost perfect on my machine. And again, it's the X and Y. I'm telling you, it's that glass bed. So that gave me points. And then they had some kind of cool ones where, like this one, where you print it out and each one of these pegs has gap around it. And then you judge by how tight the gap is by being able to remove the pegs. Well, they rated this kind of low on theirs, and on mine, I could pull 2 out of the 5. It would have been nice to get that third one because I can see gap in there, but it's just a little too tight. But even that, my score went up. Another one that just blew me away was this print, where they print at different angles, and it says right on it, 30, 45, 60, and 70. That's the angle. I thought this would be an absolute failure on my machine. I've printed with this enough that I said it's never going to make it all the way to 70, but you know, how far does it make it? Not only did it make it, it did it really well. There's a little bit of sagging underneath because there's no support, but it completed the whole print. And this actually was better than what their rating was. So this brought the scale up. And then there was other ones where you print this tall thing and they look for gaps in the lines, and that's for z-axis. That's if your z-axis is off, and I have none of that. And then the one that really got me was this one. It's different bridges with gap underneath them. Now this one, I would never in a million years print this without support. But I printed it without support, and I figured these would just sag, just this would be a fail. And it passed. These are actually flat and solid, but there is definitely material that's sagging. So this was a little bit hard to judge by how they described the test, but I came out with similar results to what they had. One other thing that I wanted to point out, and this is kind of a tip for anybody that's out there, is you have to know your printer and what its capabilities are when you run something. So this print, when I ran it, like I said, it had the glob on the top, and I watched it. The head just kept going round and round and round because it's such a tight circle that the plastic never was able to harden. So when it was finally done and the head went away, you got this glob on top that just doesn't look like anything like it should be. Well, the trick to that is what I've learned is print two of them. Here's two that I printed, and if you look at these, they look great. They've got all the stacks, including the small one on top, instead of a big glob. And the reason is because I did two of them. The head has, I'm trying to hold two here, it's tough. The head can go to one and then go to the other, and while it goes to the other, this one can cool, and it can go back and forth, and that's why I'm able to get a full print out of it. Now I printed these pretty close together. I probably would have got better results if I put them farther apart. So it's little tricks like that you learn because you own your printer and you make test prints like this and you learn how to make it better. So it's a great idea that the magazine goes in and runs these tests. But if you take it for what it is, that, Davinci sucks because it's, ranked 24th. No, they're all probably capable of doing these prints if you put it in the right hands and give someone time to learn it. So my point is, you don't have to buy a Davinci. You can buy a simple. You can spend the $3,000 and get one of the top ends if you can afford that. But spend time with your printer. Learn its features. Learn its capabilities. And learn its limitations. And that's how you get better prints. So ultimately, I think the Davinci is a very, very good printer, especially for the money. But any of these printers will work for you if you want to get started 3D printing. Just get one, start playing with it, and learn what you can do and have fun. If you like this channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And I got more videos coming up on some really cool projects. See you next time.